or what a lot of people will look at when they hear of like avatars, like age, sex, race, like where they live, which is for the most part like irrelevant. The most important thing for that is behaviors and what their behaviors are and what their thought process is and like how they, how they speak and how they interact. It feels like someone reads your mind because they know exactly what you're thinking and saying and want to do because they know you so well. When you can get that, you hit a grand slam.
Hey, fitness fans, welcome back to the Future of Fitness podcast and interview series. This is your host, Eric Malzone, and we are on episode number 66. I have the extreme pleasure of talking to Joey Percia. And Joey has been in the fitness industry for more than a few minutes, and he talks about his experience. But right now, he's really focused in on his zone of genius, as we like to say around these parts, which is copywriting. And it's something that is a very, very powerful tool. He gets paid good money by big names to do it. And he also has a book. It's called Why Do You Hate Money? And obviously a great name for the book, but it really dives into effective copywriting and how to produce more sales as a fitness professional doing it. So I do have one call to action per usual, and it's simple. If you like the show, please go check out our YouTube channel, subscribe, and if you want to, leave a favorable rating. Then head on over to iTunes and do the same. Subscribe to our channel and leave us a favorable rating. That would be fantastic, and I would greatly appreciate it. And yeah, we'll go from there. So back to Joey. You can find more about him at joeypercia.com. So that's JoeyPercia.com. So without further ado, let's get into the meat of the interview. It's a high value interview, lots of skills and actionable items in here. Joey Percia, episode number 66. Enjoy. Hey, fitness fans, welcome back to the Future of Fitness podcast interview series. This is Eric, your host, and today I have Joey Percia. Joey, welcome.
What is going on?
How you doing, man? I'm pretty fired up. I know this topic is, for fitness professionals, marketing is a big deal, right? Everyone's looking for answers. Very few people have them, and you do. So, let's cut straight into it. Let's tell people about your story and how you got to where you are today within the industry, and then we'll get into the crux of it.
Yeah. So I started like most people listening, I'm sure, fitness is always a part of my life in some way or another. I went to school, or when I found out I can go to school for this stuff, I was like, oh, awesome. So that's what I did. I went to school for exercise science, undergrad and grad degree in exercise science. Spent a lot of time on like the research side of things. I was always into like powerlifting, like I was competing. So I was just on that side of things for a long time. And then over time, just like building my own business online. So I was just training less in person. I somehow stumbled upon copywriting and marketing, which I obviously was doing it at the time, but I just didn't know what it was. And when I started learning it, I started making more money. Over time, I just like had more and more people, my friends in the industry, like starting to like, hey, can you write this for me? Hey, can you help me with this? And then that just ended up being a side hustle for me for a while until last year when I was like, oh, I'm just doing this full time because that's what I enjoyed more at the time. And so that's what I did. So I've been writing full time for clients and consulting with copy and marketing for, I don't know, a while, but here we are.
And we have to mention this too, right? Yeah. That you're an author.
I am an author. The book is called Why Do You Hate Money? And it is a fitness marketing guide to create content that kills, craft copy that converts, and master the science of selling without selling out. So that's probably what we'll be talking a lot today is the without selling out part of things.
Yeah. And, to be completely transparent, I just got the book yesterday. I picked it up. So I've been reading through it. And I think my favorite part of it, which is probably just part of good copywriting, it comes across very authentic, and you tend to, just from the parts I've read, like reading it, I'm like, oh, this guy, I've been there, I'm there. This guy's been there before. He feels the pain and he's emotionally connecting with me, which is always a great sign of solid copy. Right.
Yeah.
So well done. Yeah. It's really good.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah. And that's the thing that's like, for a lot of people, whether they're struggling now or have before, like I went through that too, especially with with training and stuff and trying to build my business. And like for so long, just putting out shit and not really like getting much back in return.
Yeah.
A lot of it was like mindset stuff. I didn't understand like the exchange of value with people and like what they actually wanted and what I was giving them. And like, and then part of it was just like, I actually wanted to stay away from the marketing side of things, or thought I did, because I didn't know how to do it in a way that came across, like you say, authentic or whatever. And I just didn't want to be like I would never sell out my values for like doing something I didn't want to do. And I didn't know how to do that without like, I know how to market in a way that, allowed me not to do that. So yeah, that's definitely where the book is written from, of like, hey, like you don't have to be an asshole to market yourself, and you should. And actually, if you're good and you're doing something that's helping people, like you should be doing this more, and here's how.
Yeah. Awesome. So I'm curious, I'm sure a lot of people listening too. So you said you start building up your online coaching portfolio. How did that go? Walk us a little bit through that journey, because I know a lot of people are doing it right now. It's a very popular trend, and rightfully so. But what were the things? What was give us some details of how the copywriting actually changed your business for your online coaching? So dive into that a little bit.
Yeah. So I think it changed it a couple different ways. One was knowing who I was talking to. Yeah. And instead of like trying to help everyone and train everyone, it was kind of just narrowing in on who I want to help the most. Both like them as clients, and also me of like what I want to talk about the most. And like, these are like, I call them like core pillars. And like, these are the core pillars of my business. This is what I help people with. This is what I need to start talking about more. So I start getting known for that. I think what a lot of people do, and what a big mistake is, to try to do like, especially when it comes to putting out content, to try to put out content on like everything. Or like, I need to put out content on this diet and this thing and like this training program and then this. And people they never connect with people on like an emotional level where they become the go-to person for said topic. So when I started to like hone in on that type of stuff, I started getting questions, and more people would come to me like for those sort of things.
Yeah.
And I built a lot of the, like my training stuff, it was organic for a while, just by like putting out a ton of content. So I always had a close connection with like creating content, just because like that's how I built my business. For the most part, it's still like that now.
Yeah. What kind of content were you putting out? Was it video, written?
Mostly written.
Okay.
There was some video, which is funny because like I hated writing, and like that's what I do now. So I was like bad at writing in school. Like I was never a good writer. Or I thought I was never a good writer. And I started at a college when I graduated. I was working with Brett Contreras for a while. So Brett's very like research heavy. So like, I mean, we were doing like research, and then when we weren't doing research and making fun of each other and like lifting, when we were actually working, we would write. And I just like didn't like writing. I was like, this sucks. I don't want to do this. And then like, yeah, that's what I get paid to do now. I mean, I write differently. I write like direct response stuff and marketing as opposed to like just general content pieces. But yeah, it was a funny way.
Yeah,
it worked out.
So let's get into it. So if I'm Susie Fit Pro, right? And I want to start building my online presence, I guess, maybe whether I'm doing coaching online, or I own a gym, or I'm a trainer within a gym, or, whatever it is, I just want to build my online presence. How would you coach me? How would you start in on that process?
Be present more. So the first thing, so going back to like knowing who you're talking to, it's, now we have like more social media platforms popping up and all this stuff. It's important to know like where those people that you're going to be helping, where they hang out the most. If they're on Facebook, cool. Facebook is probably a really good place for you to start creating content and like putting it out to the world. If they spend more time on YouTube, awesome. That might be the better place for you to do it. If it's Instagram, cool. So like, there's just going where, the people are like, you're prospective clients are, and creating content out there and becoming part of the community. And you do that by giving value, by interacting with people, by being a person, like do that on whatever platform that's going to suit your business the best, and help those people the most.
Awesome.
So I think that's the first thing, is like knowing where those people are and then going there, and then actually creating content. And like, I'm sure we'll talk about it because it always comes up, but like writer's block and like not being able to come up with ideas. And we can talk about that in a while, but and like different ways to get around that. But the most important thing is getting out content like more. And one, because you become known. And if you're not doing paid advertising, you need to be doing that. But you know what works, like what's worked. So you start doing more of that, and you just get better. Yeah. Like that, like anything, like you practice, you get better. It's a skill. I promise you, it's a skill. You can learn.
I agree.
It's not hard to learn.
And I'll just throw my 2 cents because, one of my preferred, obviously, because we're doing it right now, is I like doing podcasts. I like interviewing people. I like producing that type of content. And I've been thinking about doing a podcast for 5 years. And I just started 4 months ago. And, all it took was this guy, Andy Petronic. I don't know if you know him, but he was a mentor of mine for a long time. He has one. He has a great podcast. And I'm like, well, how do I start? He's like, just start. Done. Yeah. Great call. Yeah. So, since you mentioned it, let's just get into it. I get writer's block. And not necessarily once I start writing, I'm okay. Right. It's just that starting point. But, I know I have to do at least one blog entry every week. That's what I do. But how do you get past that? What's that thought process of getting pen to paper eventually? Figuratively.
Yeah. So sometimes literally it's pen to paper.
That's true.
So one, I think the first and most important is making the commitment to put out content regularly. For anyone that wants to, I am a big proponent of you put out something every single day, period. I don't care where it is. I don't care if it's on like a Facebook post, an Instagram post, to your email list, an Instagram story, whatever it is, put something out every single day because you're going to get better. And what I like doing, what I do myself, and for everyone that I coach, it's you do that first thing in the morning, because that's when you're fresh. Or even if you're just mapping out ideas for like a video script or something, you do that first thing in the morning when you're fresh, like no distractions. And that's when you're able to put more effort into it and like get creative when you wouldn't normally do that, as opposed to like waiting till the end of the day and you're just like beat up, tired. You don't want to do anything.
Yeah.
Another thing to keep in mind is what I just mentioned before is having specific pillars like that you become known for, or that you speak about often, knowing what those are, and talking about that frequently. So like, just say, for example, we're talking about fitness. So like you have a specific training method that like you really stand by, whether it's like you're kind of like quote unquote kettlebell guy or barbells or like strict body weight, whatever. Or you think everything's stupid and everything's just a tool, like, whatever, just hone in on something. And like, that's what you talk about. Then nutrition, you have certain principles that you talk about in nutrition that you should talk about. You have like mindset. There's certain things like that I'm sure you tell your clients when they're having trouble thinking they can't lose this amount of weight, that like you talk about with their mindset. And there might be something else too, if it's like having a life outside the gym, or gym is life, whatever, like having something else. But it's just those are the pillars those are the things you talk about frequently. And then it's easier for you to come up with content because like, okay, I'm talking about this today. Okay, I'm talking about this today. Or you just have something to go back to and be like, oh, I can talk about this because like I got questions, like asked this question yesterday about training. And yeah, just having that, like that simple thing, it just makes it so much easier to just come up with content.
Yeah. Awesome. I was skimming through your book, right? And we were talking before this recording about, one of the things I like just from reading the headlines and bits of your book is that when I read numerous things, it wasn't just one or two things. It's like, I was like, whoa, that's that's me. Like I emotionally connected to the words that you were saying because A, it was authentic, I believe, just from talking to you, but B, you must have, that's not an accident, right? It's not an accident that I emotionally connected with the words that you're putting in your book. So maybe I think that's a big part of it. I mean, from a fitness professional standpoint, I think we like to talk about things that we like to talk about, but we're not really sometimes putting the audience in mind,
Yeah.
Like I remember I did an exercise once when I was writing emails and blogs for my gym was, I just started writing things that came to mind. And then I actually took the time to ask some people what they wanted me to talk about. And it was what their ideas were way simpler and easier than what I had in mind. I was going to write these complex manifestos about, aerobic threshold. Right?
Yeah.
Like, no, we just want to know, like, what do we do when our hands rip? Or what do we do? So maybe if you could walk us through like the process of putting yourself in your audience's shoes and pulling out those emotions. How do you do it? How do you do it so well?
Yeah. So it's so funny you talk about that because it's like that's a huge thing. Like it all comes down to knowing who you're talking to. And because you'll know like what they actually want, like what their level of involvement is in that. If you were writing to someone who was going to school for this thing and they wanted to know everything about like how the human body works and like all this stuff, that's great. And they probably love that. Whereas if you're just talking to someone who wants to like lose 10 pounds, because their husband doesn't look at them the same, that's a very different feeling. Or if they're a CrossFit athlete that like they just want to improve their time on, I don't know, one of their workouts, like on brand, then they might be interested in something like that. But again, the first thing is knowing who that person is, and the next thing is interacting with them. So actually talking to them is the best. And the biggest thing with like copying your marketing type of stuff is, and selling in general and persuasion, anything, is being curious and wanting to know why things work, why people do things, what their reasoning is, what they're really interested in, like just being curious, asking questions and seeing like what their responses are. Both what they say and then what they actually do, because I think we all know it's like sometimes people say they want X but actually do Y. And it's just going where those people aren't just talking and we're just paying attention and being curious about what it is. So like some of the stuff, so like with the book, some of the stuff is like it's just second nature to me because like again I was in those positions, so like I know how to do that. And two is like I talk to people all the time, or like in that world, or I still basically am in the world because or the majority of my clients are still health fitness, like wellness businesses. So yeah, it's knowing that stuff, and like when you start knowing who the person is, that's when you really start being able to connect with them. So you might look at, or what a lot of people will look at when they hear of like avatars, is like age, sex, race, like where they live, which is for the most part like irrelevant. It doesn't matter for the most part. Right. Like if you're targeting with you're running paid advertising, that might help if you know that stuff. But the most important thing for that is behaviors, and what their behaviors are and what their thought process is, and like how they speak and how they interact. That's what stepping inside those person's shoes, and in the book I call them mind reading. That's when like being able to, like you said, it feels like someone reads your mind because they know exactly what you're thinking and saying and want to do, because they know you so well. Like that's when you can get that, you hit a grand slam. When someone can read it and be like, dude, I feel like you're talking to me. Yeah. Or like, I feel like they know things that like, I don't even know, like what I want. They know what I want. I don't even know what I want. You know what I mean? Like when you can get that, like that's when, you did a good job.
Yeah. That's awesome. Do you have, from an actionable standpoint, do you have like a series of questions that you ask your quote unquote avatars, or ways to pull that information out? I tell you why, is we put together an avatar worksheet.
Yeah.
And it asks all the basic, it has demographics and all that thing.
Yeah,
In fact, if people are listening and they want me to send you a copy of it, hit me up, eric@fitnessmarketingalliance.com. I'll send it for free. But it's, it goes through all those pain points, and asks specific questions that are meant to not necessarily get to the right away, but to initiate another round of questions, right?
Yeah.
So you can
And
go deeper.
Yeah, I think that's the most important part, because it's hard. I think that is the most important, is digging deeper on what they say. And it's really just, it's being able to let yourself sound stupid sometimes, and just like not take their first answer as no, because like someone says something and you're like, oh, and sometimes when you say like, oh, what do you mean by that? Like you might think you sound stupid, but like it's just giving someone an opportunity to explain themselves more. So to me, that's, I would just, for a while, I just took whatever someone said at first, like, oh, that's it. Especially when I was like selling personal training stuff, which I hated. And I would just take it like, oh, okay, you want to lose like 10 pounds. But I didn't know like why.
Right.
I didn't know like really, really why. And I just didn't know how to like go deeper. And you just go deeper by just asking more questions that just like take them down a rabbit hole.
Yeah.
So like I have a list of questions for my like copywriting clients now, which are a little bit different because the goals are different and stuff. But like you'll read, there's questions in the book and stuff as far as like kind of digging into your avatars. But it's I think it's more important to understand it's what really motivates them, because you'll get the blanket like questions of like what keeps them up at night. And like before I'd read that, I'm like, fucking nothing keeps me up at night, man. Like I sleep like a rock. The only thing that kept me up was like my back concussion that I got like 2 months ago, and then I couldn't sleep for like 2 weeks because I had like insomnia. But it's just like hard to grasp that concept of like, no, it's like, what do they worry about? Like with with a lot of business owners, they're worried about someone just like something happen and like everything around them crumbling. Like they just lose everything they worked so hard for no reason. Everything could be going great and they've done everything by the books, but for some reason they think they're doing something wrong and someone's going to come and steal everything from them and they're going to go to jail. Like, like that's what people feel like a lot.
Yeah, that thought, I mean, being completely transparent, that thought occurred to me and still does to this day all the time. It's just, I actually had to name it because it was like this alter ego. Right? That's something like all of a sudden, like the roof is literally going to cave in and I'm going to lose everything. And then, my wife's going to leave me because I took all her money and wasted it. And you're like, what? How did I get here? I was just training somebody 2 seconds ago.
It's so funny. Like our minds are crazy. And these just little ideas and thoughts, and like they can manifest into some crazy things. And the thing is, people feel that way. Yeah. Like people feel that way. Like we tell ourselves things and people feel that way. Like I saw the movie Inception for the first time like a couple weeks ago, and I just like love it. Like I was like, I can't believe I waited this long to watch this movie. Just because it's like the whole premise of it is just like, one little idea is that whether someone planted in your mind or someone said something and like planted in your mind, and you just go down this crazy rabbit hole of just like for no reason, our whole human race is crazy. And, oh my God. Yeah.
So anyway, that's a big rabbit hole. That's probably a whole nother podcast where we could talk. I'm curious too, to be, just cause I think this is a good example. It's just something I'm experiencing right now. I have committed myself to 30 days of posting a video of myself on social media. Not because I'm necessarily, of course, hopefully it helps some marketing, we get some clients, we get some attention. That's great. But it's for me. And the reason being is I want to get myself out there and realize like, you don't have to care what people think. Yeah. Because, I think that's a big part of it is people are scared to put the content out there. Imposter syndrome is one name for it, just fear of rejection, all these things. How do you coach your clients through that process? Because that's a constant challenge for not just fitness professionals, but anybody.
Yeah. That's huge with everyone. I think the first thing is realizing that like everyone struggles with it. Mm-hmm. And I say cool, but it's not really cool. But when you start surrounding yourself with people who are like, doing great things, and people you might put on this super high pedestal, and then they say the same thing, which that's happened to me. Someone's like said the same thing. I'm like, holy shit, you feel like that?
Yeah.
Like I feel like you're crushing it. Like you're doing like, and when you like you really understand, like deep down that I don't know a single person that doesn't struggle with it. And the people say they do, they're for the most part, like I know they're lying.
Right.
So that's the first thing. It's like everyone does that, and like you're just not comfortable with it because it's not a skill.
Yeah.
Like it's not like we talked about before. It's just like everything is a learnable skill, and the more you do it, the more confident you're gonna be with it. Like if I brought you into my garage and I was like, hey, bro, check out this. Like, this is my car engine. I'm going to take this apart and you're going to put it back together based on how it is. You're like, I don't know how to do that. Like, no. You're going to watch me take it apart so you know how to do it. You're like, I have no idea how to do that.
Yeah.
Whereas if you like were either around that as a kid all the time and like you were building those things and like your dad is a mechanic and you see this every single day and like you've helped all these little different pieces, you're just like, oh yeah, like I can put that back together. Like I know exactly what to do. I've done this a million times. And a lot of people, they don't necessarily like, they don't apply that to everything in their life. They just think it's kind of just like skills like that. Just like, I just don't know how to do that. But yeah, if you learn, I promise you will get better and you will know how to do it and you'll be more confident in doing it.
Yeah. It's, I always equate content creation to my running and my fitness, right? I just got to keep doing it. It's just it's exercise. It just needs and if you leave it for a while, it'll still be there, but it won't be what it was if you stopped for a year.
Yeah, and it's hard to get back into it too.
It is.
I think,
it's a hard thing.
Keeping that the chain going is like very important. But it's like you said, that's what I say. Just pick a piece of content. Like I'm going to post on Facebook every single day and just do that. If you're not posting at all, don't say I'm going to post 3 times a day and like do this. Like, no, if you want to end up posting more, awesome. But like you have the goal of doing this, like your video 1 time a day for X amount of days. Awesome. Like actually mark that shit off.
Yeah.
And then like you start seeing this change. You're like, oh, this is good. Like it's easy for me to do it. Like I don't feel weird putting these videos out anymore. And like some days, and what's cool about what I love about this is when you're creating content, you like what you're creating changes based on your moods, based on like what has happened like that day or happened the day before. In writing, this is huge. In video, it's even more important. And you'll even notice this when you start, like when you actually put it out, like if you're really afraid of things or afraid of like what people think, but you just had like an amazing day or something before, like you'll put something out, you just don't you don't care. You're just like, this, I don't give a shit. Whereas like if something happened or like you got feedback that was bad or like someone said something or for some reason you're just really self-conscious, you write something, you do something in a video and you're like pretty timid and you're like, oh, I don't know if this video is good. And you're like, I'm afraid to put this out because like I'm afraid to think like see what people are gonna say or what people think. And it's just it's funny because like we care way more than other people care. Like most people don't care what we're doing.
Yeah.
Like they don't care.
Yeah.
Like we're our own biggest self-critics and we talk about as far as putting out content, people are like, well, I've run out of things to say. One, no one sees everything you do. Like even your mom who loves you to death does not see everything you do. My mom sees like everything. Like she sees a lot and she still doesn't see like everything. You know what I mean? Like it's very bold of you to think people really care about every step that you're making, but it's just not true. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
So you can talk about the same thing. You can repurpose stuff. And again, like it kind of should be based on like the pillars of what you talk about often. But yeah, I'm telling you, like you have the chance to make it better because everyone's not watching your every move.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if you do want to do an exercise, think about people who may be criticizing you and then think, what are the chances they're actually thinking about you right now?
Yeah.
0.
Yeah,
0.
exactly.
They're not thinking about you. They're not. They're thinking about their own shit that's going on in their own head.
They're thinking about who's thinking about them.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly. This is great. I think, I really appreciate this conversation because I think what we really did was just get to the point of like what copywriting is, which is just putting yourself out there and doing.
Yeah, it's copywriting. It's just communication. It's communicating a message from someone or to someone. The message might be to buy. It might be to trust you, to share something, to get into your world somehow. It's just communication. That's all it is.
Joey, where do people find you if they want to work with you?
You can find me at joeypercia.com.
Awesome. And your book, of course.
Yeah. My book is,
Why Do You Hate Money?
Yeah, Amazon.com. It's Why Do You Hate Money? And you can get it like from the site too, and it can redirect you. But yeah, that's on Amazon. It's the only place you can get that right now.
Awesome, man. Well, I appreciate you coming on. I really enjoyed this conversation, and yeah, I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Ladies and gentlemen, Joey Percia.
Thank you for having me.
Hey, fitness fans, don't leave yet. This is your host, Eric Malzone, and I want to personally thank you for your support and listening to the Future of Fitness podcast and interview series. If you have a few minutes, I would greatly appreciate if you went to iTunes and gave us a favorable rating, as well as go to our YouTube channel and subscribe there. That'd be fantastic. If you know of anybody who'd be a great fit for this show as a guest, please hit me up at eric@fitnessmarketingalliance.com. That's Eric with a C. Also, I have 3 questions for you. Number 1, are you a fitness professional who's been in the industry for over 7 years? Question number 2, do you have an online revenue stream or multiple online revenue streams? Question number 3, are you ready to break loose from your local market and take advantage of all of the opportunity out there in the online world? If you are, I want you to go to fitnessmarketingalliance.com/mastermind. This will lead you to our Level Up Mastermind group and all the information that you need to know. This is a group for high-level thinkers within the industry who are ready to break free. So go check it out. It's fitnessmarketingalliance.com/mastermind. Let us know if you have any questions. Thank you again for listening. I greatly appreciate your support. We'll keep it up from our end as well.